springboard for, rearrivals. That's really what it is. Just ancestors coming back. So if you have two people having an orgasm at the same time, then they're both reaching that state of ecstasy, and the bridge between them, that portal that is opening up from the situation, is the clear one. You're coming from that energy that's like of pure ecstasy. Whereas like if you're coming from a state of someone feeling like, oh, they made a mistake, or they weren't trying to do it at that time and they prematurely ejaculated or whatever, and you don't have the two on the same page, then that bridge, that rainbow bridge or whatever, that bridge isn't the same. So that's really what the female orgasm is there for. It's a signal, like I was saying, like if you can really go into the sex and really feel your whole body, then you can realize like when the other person is going through that signal. A lot of people get lost in that signal and they think that their body is telling them to have an orgasm, but it's the partner. So then they get lost, but it's really just a signal, and that's all it is, reception between the sex organs and everything, and you're locking to be one. You're physically, like, it's like a mechanical oneness among the other levels of oneness. So then if you reach that state of ecstasy and that state of oneness, then you're creating from that level of alignment. You're aligning with that level of relaxation, and then you produce products from that level instead of haphazardly, unconsciously having, whatever you have, fragments of ecstasy and stuff like that.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. And then you were talking about how breathing is what can cleanse you of energy that's transferred to you through sex. Something about that.
In Chicago,
I guess that's it.
The breath is key. Like, the more you breathe.
Hold on 1 second. There's a siren going by.
Chicago.
Okay.
No, so the breath. That's how you can get rid of the residues, though, man. The breathing. Sauna, steam room, all that. The breathing is paramount, though, because that's just the foundation. I mean, that's the base of the food pyramid. And I just feel like that's the more you breathe, the less you want to harm yourself, and the more present everything is. Yeah, like I was saying, like the more present your love is, so then like the history of your love. So then when you felt good. You're like, man, I felt good all these different times in my life, and so you don't need to disrespect yourself or life, because like, man, like life has brought me this, even though it might have brought me this. But if you're operating from that different level, then you have the history, you can remember it. But people they're operating from beneath yin and yang, so they just stay in the habits, of going back to the back and forth and the compensation life, instead of being above it, because the breath takes you above it, to where you can see beyond good and evil, yin and yang, and that's just that the breath will take you past. It'll create that space within you, because you bring other people around you, and it takes just space from you in a lot of ways, and the breath will give you that space within you to where you can see, like, I don't want to damage myself no more, what I mean, in these other ways. So things just don't bother you. And you cleanse on a whole nother level, your thoughts and everything. Compassion for other people, you have the patience for it. Mm-hmm. But if you don't breathe, it's really hard to give any compassion. Mm-hmm. The way.
So basically, we're just constantly like suffocating ourselves.
Pretty much, with people, places, and things, and pretty much food, whether it be emotions. Anything to fill the void, instead of realizing the void is your true identity, infinity, this infinite void, this one source. Instead of trying to fill it, realize that it's you, and that's kind of the thing. Like, I think in different parts in your life, you have experiences where people need to speak up or do different things, and there's a void there, and it's filled with your presence. and then that's how you flow into life, and then you can kind of get into the interconnectedness of all people if you feel your position with where your body's supposed to be. But you can't do that if you're not doing things. You can't do that if you're not doing what you love, and it's hard to even see what you love if you're not breathing, man. If you're in the shallow breathing, you're just into shallow endeavors.
How does money?
It'll never be about the depths of your soul.
But how does like money come into play with all of that though? When you're trying to navigate doing what you love, but you're not seeing any tangible money from it, like you still have to put your energy into other things then, right? Or no? Like how does that work?
I feel like it'll all show itself that it's something that you're probably already doing or already have invested time into that you're probably ignoring, or that you might be paying for, that you could be getting paid for. It's always like, it's just a switching of an energy. It's not like the ingredients are already there. You're just switching it. You know what I mean? How many hours a day you got? Okay, so where's the energy invested in? All right, so the energy's been invested in this. So how can I switch from giving energy to it to now where I'm switching the switch to where I'm receiving in this way? And now everything's free flowing and it's never ending. It's infinite flow of energy instead of looking at lack and chasing. But it's all there. All the ingredients is there. It's if one door closes, one door opens. So it's always that way. If you take in a chemical in the body leaves. Like something, it's always that way. Something gives and takes equally. So if you, I feel like it comes down to that breathing. The giveth and the taketh, the inhale and the exhale. You get in control of that, then you get beat. The more gradual you do that, then the less you need general. So then you're only going to do things that don't abuse your energy. Because you're like, man, I don't need this, I don't need that. The breathing shows you what you need, really, if you really do it. And then you're like, I don't need these things, so I'm going to do things that honor my energy. And then I'll get returns on that. Like, I'm only getting the returns that I love. I'm only giving love because I'm doing what I love, and it's always the easier thing than you want to do, man, and it's always going to come down to humility. It's not going to be some hard work, man. Hard work is a hard life, But
so how did you do it? Like, how did you make that transition from like going from what? I mean, was like did you go through a transition, or were you always like in tune?
I feel like I got out of tune trying to be with people. I feel like I came in here pretty in tune, like pretty detached from. In a sense, like I was in tune with my awareness because I was detached from human emotion in the beginning. Like I really was kind of numb to it, and it really wasn't like anything big to me. But then being detached and being the observer like that made me crave wanting to feel what humans feel. I'm like, man, what is this big? What is the big deal about this? So I was, I had to do things twice as hard just to feel what humans was feeling, and then. For me, everything, my punishments was triple. So I felt like it was, it was pretty easy. It wasn't, for me, it was always, shit was apparent for me. Like I never really, I had options, but I didn't. Like a lot of illusions of options. It always seems like it's a bunch of paths, but, at the end of the day, it always came down to what was practical for my heart. And that was, it was really no other option. The stress came from thinking there was other options and like worrying about, concepts of, what would be if this option, didn't pan out or whatever. But it was always, the opportunities were always been, the writing was on the wall. I just had to follow it. And so I just keep following it. I know it was like to step off. It was nothing but landmines and barbed wire. Like that was all it was, like stepping off the path. Like it seems narrow. The path be seeming narrow, but, the other ways, man, they might seem more entertaining, they might seem extremely sexy, but they're not fulfilling. They're all illusory, they have to be, there has to be envy or lust or whatever to be entertainment, to even distract you from this eternal path, like, because that, you're really slowing down to the point where you're like, wait a minute, like, I'm facing eternity. I'm not facing a bill at this time. I'm not facing this at this time. It's like I'm facing eternity. This is the situation at hand. It's it's not anything that I have to rush through. And I have all the tools and the ingredients. I got the 24 hours in a day. And if I don't have what I need, then I'm not going to I'm not going to have to worry about it anyway. I'll be dead. So that's how I always looked at it. Like, I feel like if you stand on it and you really respect it and you're like, yo, this is how I'm living, and you live with, like, that's not a blind faith. It's because you just know, like, yo, I gave energy into this thing. Like, it doesn't matter what life is showing me. Like, it's going to work out in the ways that I value.
Mm-hmm.
And if I enjoy doing it the whole time while I'm doing it, then it can only give me more of that. But if it's the other way, then it can, it goes with, the other way.
Mm-hmm.
If you don't enjoy the process, you gotta let it go. Like, I know it sounds cliche, but like, so much shit is that way, and like, there's always like enough rope to climb out, or a lot of people just use it to hang themselves, but it's always enough rope to climb out. You know what I mean? Or you wouldn't wake up today. You wouldn't even remember today if it wasn't enough to get out, or whatever, or to get back to that state of oneness.
And breathing
by knowing that
keeps you.
It's nothing external. Huh?
And breathing, like, helps you hear it more. Like it.
Yeah, the breathing, I feel like it makes everything so apparent, and you just see everything so much more clearly, and life slows down in a way where you don't have this anxiety. Plus, like, you feel so good, your body's operating at such a high level that you're like, man, I'm not. It's not like I'm aging. I'm in no rush to do anything. You know what I mean? I'm not. I'm pretty much standing still if I don't damage myself. All I gotta do is just stay disciplined with the breath, and I enjoy it while I'm doing it. Like, the more you give to it, the more it gives back, and the more you enjoy it. Once you clean the lungs out, and you really, really start absorbing that. That's like, it's not like it's anything against your will. Like, people, I know a lot of people like, I don't want to sit here and meditate with it, but the more you give to it, the more you like, shit, I mean, I'd rather do that than this other thing or whatever. Like, even if you're doing it with music, just to get through the practice, eventually you'll get to a point where you're doing it another way, like, or always, like, in different ways. Sometimes silent, sometimes with music, sometimes with an audio book on or whatever. But that shit is like, the more you give to it, that's what you want to be doing anyway. And then the more, then everything else shows itself. Because you got to work inside out. It's not gonna work trying to arrange things from the outside in. You know what I mean? You got to go back into, you got to really go back into yourself, man. Before all the elements, and get before yin and yang. And the breath is that way, to get before the inhale and the exhale.
So do you still, like, set goals and everything? Like, goals and, like, strategy and how to get it? Or is it just, like, really moment-to-moment living?
It's just paying attention, man. I mean, it's like, I feel like that's what makes life so intense and so, like, great in a sense, is just, like, I'm paying attention to the master plan. You know what I mean? That's the sense that you're slipping into being the master and aligning with the universal will, to where there's no separation between your identity and it. So you're seeing this ultimate plan, and so my personal plans, like, they just pale in comparison. Doesn't mean anything. I don't even want to invest any time into what. But if you have freedom from your own thoughts, like, then you can let that go, and you can just be like, all right, whatever, man. It doesn't really matter what my personal values are in this moment right now. I'm eagerly awaiting the instructions from the Tao, like, every moment, from moment to moment. And it's like, and then you can just see the path more and more the more you give to it. And then you get greater temptation. But with that, then, temptation is fire, so, it's the torch. So if you get beyond the temptation by, staying still inside and not giving out to it, then, then you just have more vision down the path and of the plan, and it just, you just are, then you are the plan, then you are the blueprint, and then there's no separate. You are the Tao. You know what I mean? We're all humility, though.
Mm-hmm.
It's not a conquering thing. You know what I mean? It's a becoming thing or unbecoming thing, whatever. You have to know, like, your truest will is the universal will, and it's looking out for you. I guess that's the faith that people don't really want to have, like that there is no separation. There's no, everything's an extension of their will, and no matter what happens, whatever you label it, good or bad memory, this is happening for your best, for your evolution, and you need to go through with this without resistance, and allow the stuff, allow it to happen because it's your true intention. And the more you fight your true intention, then you're just running from yourself. Then you chase. You run from yourself and then you chase things.
I know. I feel like I get really small periods of time where I feel that, where I'm like, where everything is just happening like really right before my eyes, kind of like I'm really in it. But then like it disappears really quickly. Like it just comes in and out. And like, yeah, I don't know like what causes it to happen and how to like keep riding it when it happens, I don't know, I guess just like a moment to moment thing.
Yeah, no, I know, like I feel like that comes with the breathing and the allowing, man. I hate to be a repetitive person like that, but like the more that you get to it, then you won't be thinking through your day. You'll be feeling and just living and being in the day instead of thinking through it. Like it's so much of this, like conceptualizing how you feel, what you're gonna do about how you feel, what people think about how you feel, what you think about how you feel, and all that type of stuff. Like if you're worried about what you think about, then you have no choice to be worried about what other people think about.
Oh,
so
I see. Yeah, I get what you mean.
You know what I mean? You have to be beyond that. You know what I mean? You have to, or more deeper within, be in that. I don't know, like it's deeper.
I know what you mean. I know what you mean.
Yeah, if you breathe more, you won't be thinking like that. You'll just be feeling, and you won't think about how you feel. Like it's so much.
Wow. I guess that.
Yeah. Then your natural rhythms, like all your natural responses, will be from the Tao. Then you'll be like, wow, this is the Tao speaking. Like my will is the universal will. Like then you're moving from your core. Everything you're saying in conversations is the Tao, and you're like, damn, like this is. I can't take credit for this. You know what I mean? There's no, what is credit? And then that's a whole nother battle. Yeah, then you're going, then you realize like how lost in the language, thinking in language, what is done to us.
Yeah. No, I definitely believe in the power of the body and like, yeah. I mean, for some reason, breathing just seems so simple that it seems like, it almost seems too simple that it wouldn't, that it wouldn't have that big of an effect, but.
Yeah, man, but that's the thing, the correct way. You know what I mean? Like it is the hardest thing is the easiest thing. The easiest thing is the hardest thing. Like if you breathe the correct way, a lot of people it's going to take them a long time to breathe properly. Some people it's going to take years to clear that area to breathe properly. But they'll still see the benefits of constantly pushing, constantly massaging the organs with the diaphragm, expanding and contracting. They'll see the benefits of it, but some people it'll take years to really fully get the breathing properly. Then they realize, like, wow, all this chasing I've been doing, running from my breath, I finally let the breath catch me. Like then you get to have the power of the breath, and you're like, wow, like the small, it changes all. Like this is like, even though this is a small thing, this is the biggest thing. It's like, it's like if a rock is in your shoe, like I can't, my whole system, I can't run. You know what I mean? Like even though I'm way bigger than a rock, even a little rock, a stone in my shoe, it's like that. Like you can't. The smallest thing, the easiest thing is the hardest thing, but that's the paradox. It seems paradoxical, but you can see beyond it if you're breathing.
Yeah, no, that makes a lot of sense. And then so you were saying how it's like kind of how babies normally breathe anyway, like after they're born. But so then eventually, eventually is the goal to get to that point where it's just like you don't have to set aside like 3 times a day half hour each
Yeah.
time. Like,
you won't be thinking about time. You won't be thinking about time. I mean, every time you look at the clock, you should breathe anyway. But that's the thing with that's what Lao Tzu's biggest thing is, man. You know, babies don't come in the world knowing how to smile. They're expressionless. They're infinite. Their grip is mad strong. If they scream, the shit is in such harmony that they don't go hoarse. Like, you know, being like the Tao, like being like a baby to where, like, yeah, like you're infinite. Like, you have the capacity to smile and cry and do all those things. But you just do. If you do them when the placement is correct, and you do the thing when it's in the flow in accord with the Tao, then you never get tired and you never get old.
Mm-hmm.
Like, because you're crying when you're supposed to, you're laughing when you're supposed to, you're doing things when they're stemming from your core instead of trying to go back and now I got to breathe to catch up on these last 7 years of not breathing. You know, but you know it all you work the kinks out. You know, but it's the only work that needs to be done, you know, unworking, really. Mm-hmm. So it's the hardest work, but it's the easiest work because you don't have to go anywhere to do it.
So do you think it's, like, important to set aside, like, the 3 times a day structured stuff, or do you think that you can just, like, be more intuitive, or does that take time only after you do it structured?
I think that, yeah, like, people should start where they can, start right now, start wherever they can, and then do it as much as possible, you know, and just don't have any expectations, but don't slack, you know, just hold yourself accountable and do as much as you can, because if you see any strides at all, there's no way that you'll ever want to revert back. It's just that people don't do it long enough, you know. People do it for a couple of days and, you know, mm-hmm. they may never do it again, or 6 months or something. They need to do it every day, you know. I wouldn't call babies, like, innocent necessarily either, but I was just saying, like, that the breathing will take you back to your primal state, mm-hmm. to where you're not reaching from, like, you know, people are like, it's like me plus one. It's like me and anger, me and sadness, me. But if you're coming from, like, your primal state and you're not, like, your being isn't hindered or impeded by these emotions, and you can express yourself completely, then, and you operate from that state, then expressions of life, movements, you know, your true passions in life, they all work themselves out. That all gets expressed in the process of breathing. Like, the breathing gives you the perspective to where you're like, okay, I'm being lazy in this way, I need to do this, and you're not, you know, you have to accept it. It's mm-hmm. It's more the acceptance thing, accepting the moment, just breathing, and then you just reach a point where.
No, I see. Yeah, I see what you're saying.
Yeah, to where your breathing though reaches a point where throughout the day you're conscious of the breath and your rhythms. You don't need to sit down and meditate like that. Like, in your life your goals are what they are. They're just a whole nother level of goals. You know what I mean? It's whatever your path entails. I wouldn't know. Everybody's in different angles.
Can you talk a little bit about what your views are on humans and, like, where we came from?
Humans in general, I guess the human organism itself is born naked. So I would say, you know, the body itself in an animal sense is from an environment, or designed to be an environment where, you know, it can be naked. So wherever that is, I feel that, you know, and if there's so many other ways to look at the earth and what this thing is, or what life is, I'm going to just look at it. I'm going to, for conversation's sake, I'd say it's layers to life. And in this dimension or layer or whatever, like, this is the expression of self on this game board, this human game board. And these are the titans. Humans are just like titans or chess pieces that's living out the stars' lives in this form. And that, you know, it's nothing you've never heard before. I feel like my view of what this game board looks like is different than a lot of people's, but I don't think it'll be strange as the years go on, what my view is now.
Do you believe in, like, the flat earth stuff?
I don't really feel like it's something that you gotta believe in, man. If you look into anybody, any anybody that has anything to say about it from a scientific standpoint, I just look at what they've done, and that's how I look at it. I look at it like, man, NASA is not to be trusted. Elon Musk is not to be trusted. I wouldn't trust. I just wouldn't trust anybody that's trying to attack it, because anybody that's trying to prove their point isn't wise. That's why it's tough to even get into it.
Yeah, I agree.
That's the toughest thing to get into. Anybody trying to prove their point isn't wise. Those who talk don't know. So it's like, it's the toughest part of this, that you're only supposed to talk when people genuinely want to know. So you really shouldn't talk any other time. But for this conversation's sake, when I see other people that's attacking, the either way, those that talk don't know. But I feel like if you've been exposed to the cosmic egg theory,
yeah, I've seen that video. That was really really
you
good.
don't have to. There's no way. We don't have to talk. We can just watch this shit. We don't need to talk, yo. I feel like, I mean, was the Martin Kinney or whatever? Like, he put the presentation together well. I feel like that a lot of people have an agreement, or they have congruent ideas of what the world is and similar ideas to what he's saying. But I feel like he presented it better than what I've ever seen. So I feel
his was really good. But it was interesting because he made it so that everyone was right in a certain way. Like, the people who talk up NASA, like, they weren't completely wrong, and like the people who said that the Earth was flat weren't completely wrong. It's like everyone saw like a little bit of the truth in it, Like
exactly. Everybody had their angle or whatever, and that's the thing. That's why I'm tripping. That's why I don't worry about knowing anything, because you're looking at you're trying to look at this whole view of life through this angle of life, like a small human perspective of it. And then, even no doubt that every piece of life is all of life. Don't get me wrong. I'm just saying, like, that's the perspective that you're looking out of in your animated sense. Like, you're looking out from a skewed perspective that also has maybe, emotional traumas, maybe chemical abuse problems, and all these type of things. All these filters and, basically glasses or sunglasses on top of the view. So it's like, are you really seeing what you're supposed to be seeing? You got to kind of question yourself in that sense, And, like, that's when you let go of the idea of self, and you let go of everything to where you can just stay at your center. And that's the thing where I feel like that's where you gravitate towards that flat earth. The more that you get into your core and your center and maintaining your center, you're like, oh, yeah, the earth is just like me. It's the same thing, staying in my center, and, like, the North Pole and all that. That's why compasses, they don't tell you what south is. They just tell you that the opposite of north is what south is. But, there's a center. There's a center to this thing. And staying true to your center will bring you to that information and what people call the occult and all that type of stuff. All that will come. All that remembrance will come. And I feel like, the flat earth is just a part of that, man. It's just a part of people being more true to their core.
That's cool. That's interesting. And what do you think about? I've heard you talk about like relationships and marriage and polygamy and all that stuff before. Like, do you think that there are some people who are meant to do you think that if you have a desire for commitment, it means that that's actually meant for you, or do you think that no one's really meant for it?
Well, I feel like all experiences have to express themselves. So somebody's always going to be being a polygamist, somebody's always going to be polyamorous, somebody's always going to be monogamous and all that. Like, somebody's always going to be homosexual, somebody's always going to be all these things. They're always going to express themselves in life. And then, the yin and yang is going to determine the ages and the seasons of the yugas or whatever of life are going to determine how many people are this way, how many people are that way, and the ebb and flow of life is going to be that way. It's always going to be different pockets and different expressions of it. You don't always have, people on earth is going to be cannibals. It's going to exist. All expressions of life have to manifest. So it always manifests. But I would just say, if you honor your energy and you're true to it, then you're in a relationship with everything. So I don't see why you have to entitle anything or any relationship or value one relationship over another one. if you know you're in a relationship with everything, and everything is you, and you're just doing things that complement your life, if you honor that, whatever comes with that is what's complementary to life. And if in a moment that means multiple people, or in a moment that means being alone, or in a moment that means being with one person, then you're honoring life. But I would say that to say that monogamy is the thing that people are designed for, then that's kind of crazy. You know what I mean? Or that's kind of the design of life itself seems to be all colors of the rainbow and all everything. And the illusion gets really, really intense the more the more energy you get, the more you get more temptation, and more of that, the more you get back to yourself. So the more you get back to yourself, or to your core, shouldn't say self, I guess, no identity. The more you get back to having no identity in your core, then you're not really concerned the same, I feel like, with filling your voids with other people the same way. If you're walking down the path and somebody's walking with you, then you walk with them. They're not gonna, I'm not gonna get off the path or stop or something. But you're not gonna force it. Nothing's gonna be. I feel like anything forced. If you feel like you're forcing it and there's resistance, then that's where you should. That's the issue. That's going upstream.
What about when kids are involved?
I feel like that if you look at the world now, so many people have kids by different people. If the parents would just get along, the kids would live like kings. So I don't know. I feel like that if the parents just got along, then they'd be fine. If you got 3 baby dads and all the baby dads get along and take care of the kids, and the baby dads got baby moms, and y'all all get along, then you have a community of people that all know where they come from, and so you don't have any incest, because that's happening in the world. People not knowing that parents creates a lot of incest. People, they gravitate towards people emotionally because of the chemical connection, the frequency, and they don't know that there's a family member because the parent wasn't there. But you have so many people having kids with different people and leaving that creates a lot of that issue. So I feel like if you was to just stay and be, get beyond that idea of yourself, of what you would do or what people think you should do in this circumstance, and you take care of the kids and put the kids first because they're here now, you know what I mean? Then the kids would do first, and then everything would work out, and everything, one hand washes the other, and you have to worry about it. Then you never know. You raise a few LeBrons or something. Who knows, what you have, or whatever you value. You know what I mean, or whatever they're good at. I'm just saying that the kids they'd have a better springboard, and then anything expressing itself will, even if it's next to, it doesn't matter. Anything expressing itself, even if it's down the street and you never met the person, that it has an effect on you. So if you foster that in any way and something expressed, it's gonna bring invigorate that in you. So I feel like that would be with kids. People are already in polygamous and polyamorous situations with they have multiple sexual partners and children by different people. We're already in that place to where people just need to come together and pool their efforts to take care of the kids. And you can still have other partners and stuff like that and do that. It's just it's going to take a village. Like it's just about the energy, man. Can the energy, do you have the energy to really be allocated for this or that, to do this? And if you don't, then you got to be honest with yourself, and then the roles are going to get filled. If you're not going to be a dad to this person, you're going to be a dad to this person's kid and all that. Like, it's all, one way or another, you're going to go through the experience of life to where you go through all the emotions and all the angles, feeling fatherly, feeling motherly, nurturing things. All of that's going to happen. So you don't have to have an identity or a title. It's just one hand washing the other, really. So I don't know. It's the titles that cause the issue. Polygamy in general is a title that's kind of an issue, but for the idea, what they're getting at, I get it. I feel like it can be functional. Anything can be functional. Monogamy can be functional. It can be dysfunctional. Yeah. Polygamy can be functional. It can be dysfunctional.
Yeah. And how do you rid yourself of the desire to want commitment or to possess or to like attach or like jealousy or all that kind of stuff? Like how do you get rid of it?
I think you gotta always stay true to like, yo, I want for them what I want for myself.
Mm-hmm.
And if I want these freedoms, because you gotta ask yourself, like, do I want these barriers? Because whatever you give them, it comes back. So it's like you gotta. It really comes down to that. If you want those barriers and those crutches, then and you want to lean on each other in those ways and create those boundaries, then you can do it. But everything got to change. You always got to rearrange everything. Like something has to get rearranged. You can't leave a couch in the same place for the whole time. You have to rearrange the living room and move things around. Everything has to get moved around. Like, and the dynamics have to change. It has to be fluidity in it. So I don't expect anything of anybody. I don't expect someone to be who they were today, the same person they were yesterday. I can't expect that of them. They could change. Anything could have happened overnight to where now today they feel a different way and they want to go in a different direction. Because that's, who knows? The Tao is, the Tao is the Tao. It's limitless. And, anything can happen. So it's not like I can have expectation for infinity.
Mm-hmm.
And so, I just feel like if I look at it like that and I don't try to cage infinity, this is what I'm trying to do. I'm trying to title infinity. I'm trying to cage it. I'm trying to put it in a place. If I'm treating it like an item, I'm just going to lose it. And that's anything I'm treating like an object, you're going to lose. So it's like, I don't know. I feel like as long as I honor my energy and stay true to myself and do what I like to enjoy in the day for myself, and I only welcome people that compliment my life or that life itself. Because if I'm unhappy, then I express that, then that it has an influence on the overall. It is the overall. So that's how I look at it more so. Like if I don't want it for me, then I don't want it for them. And that's really where I operate from. Mm-hmm. Other people want a probation officer. They want someone to be like, look, I want to be sexual property for you so that you can be my sexual property, and that's our agreement, and that I feel like, or I guess I want your emotional confidence, and I want you as sexual property. However, whatever the dynamic is, I know people have different dynamics, but I feel like I don't want to put any bounds on somebody else because it's going to get put on me.
Mm-hmm. But so I guess it is just more like if someone who just naturally wants, like just two people, the ideal is like just two people who just naturally want each other.
Yeah, exactly. If we happen to align in this way and we create a common ground for a period.
It's so simple.
That's nice.
So simple.
Yeah, and then that's what I mean. Like, that's why I never worry about having kids or force having kids or not having kids. Like, it's all about alignment. So it's like if the Tao aligns me with this situation, I have to follow the Tao. Like, you know what I mean? So I just allow life to show me what I'm supposed to be doing, and it shows me what I really care about. So it doesn't matter. At that point, it don't matter because it showed me what I really care about anyway. Mm-hmm. So what people think of that or their view of that, it doesn't matter because I'm being shown what I really care about.
Mm-hmm. Wow. That was great.